Hello everyone, thank you for attending my presentation. Today I'm excited to discuss our research title, The Influence of Voice Assistant on E-commerce Customer Buying Power. My name is Muhammad Imam Sharif, presenting on behalf of my CEO authors, Arjuna Diki Sanjaya and Natalia Limantara. We are affiliated with the Information System Department at Bina Nusantara University in Jakarta, Indonesia. Our study investigates how voice assistants are influencing customer behavior on e-commerce platform, with a particular focus on the emerging Indonesian market. So here is the outline of our presentation today. We'll begin with introduction and background, followed by a brief review of the existing literature and our motivation behind this study. I will introduce our problem statement and objective, moving into our research methodology and hypothesis. We'll then go over our finding and conclude with a summary recommendation based on our results. I will also leave some time for question at the end. So the next is, let's take a look at the evolution of e-commerce and how voice technology fits in. E-commerce has grown exponentially, largely due to increased digital adoption and convenience. Voice assistants such as Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, and Apple Siri have transformed how people interact with digital devices. These assistants allow users to search for information and product using voice commands, eliminating the need for direct device interaction. This hands-free approach not only provides convenience but also enhances accessibility for those who may have limitation with traditional device interaction. So the next slide is smartphone penetration. While the use of voice assistant is well established in markets like the US and Europe, the technology is still emerging in Indonesia. Indonesia is unique due to its large tech-savvy population, with smartphone penetration at 6.4% as of 2021. Given the potential for high adoption rates, understanding the specific impact of voice assistant on Indonesian customer behavior is timely and valuable. So the next slide is literature review and market trends. Globally, research indicates the voice assistants are changing the way users approach search and purchase behaviors. Amazon reports that 30% of their sales are now driven by voice-activated comments, and also Google has noted that over 20% of mobile search are voice-driven. These figures suggest a clear shift in customer behavior, but the dynamic in Indonesia remains relatively unexplored. Given the potential for voice technology to transform customer experience, our study seeks to examine its specific effect on the e-commerce landscape in Indonesia. We look at the several studies to identify variables that influence customer interaction with voice assistants. For instance, attributes like playfulness, assurance, empathy, interactivity, sustainable use intention were frequently highlighted as significant factors. By understanding these variables, we aim to uncover insights that can benefit e-commerce providers aiming to integrate or improve voice assistant technology in Indonesia. So the next slide is problem statement and research objective. This brings us to our core problem statement. Despite the global growth of voice assistants, little research focus on their specific impact within the Indonesian market. Unlike in the West, where voice assistants have a mature user base, Indonesia is in the early stage of adoption. This gap represents a valuable opportunity to study how voice technology can shape customer decisions, particularly in a market where cultural and technological dynamics differ. And our objectives are to examine the effect of voice search on customer buying power, preference and satisfaction, and providing actionable insight for a company in Indonesia seeking to innovate with voice technology. So this is our research model. We identify relevant aspects by gathering and analyzing various references related to artificial intelligence. Specifically in voice search or voice assistant, we choose playfulness because this resource variable refers to the epistemic value possessed by an individual, especially in individual curiosity in exploring new things in the world of technology. And also assurance is the ability to provide knowledge, confidence, and trust in measuring quality. Empathy can be defined as the ability to see things from the customer perspective, and interactivity is a concept where an user can access information and engage in two-way communication with other users. And the last is not less, sustainable use intention refers to the repeated use of product or service, including the decision to continue using it, recommending to others. So here our data collection. To explore this objective, we are design our study around data collection and analysis using Smart Palace. Data was gathered via Google Forms survey, distributed through social media channels. We received respondents from 3 to 8 individuals, of which 286 were deemed valid. The majority of our respondents were university students from Jakarta. Making this insightful but somewhat limited demographic sample, we analyzed the data using structural equation modeling with Smart Palace, which is also for examining relationship among complex variables. Even with smaller samples, this tool was particularly useful for our study due to its flexibility in handling non-normal data and measuring latent variables. So this is data processing. We said the data processing of all variables include loading factor, average value, also composite reliability, and correspondence alpha above 0.7. Discriminant validity is confirmed by ensuring that the square root of average is greater than the correlation with other latent constructs. So this is our hypothesis development. Based on our literature review, we developed several hypotheses aimed at exploring how specific factors influence customer engagement with voice assistant. We hypothesize that the playfulness, especially the enjoyment driver from using voice assistant, will positively impact both interactivity and the intention to continue using the technology. So the assurance, which involves the user confidence in the assistant reliability, was also expected to enhance interactivity and sustain use. Empathy, or the assistant ability to relate to the user, was hypothesized to positively affect both interactivity and sustained use. Lastly, we are include interactivity itself, emphasizing that the easy and responsiveness of the voice assistant will encourage ongoing use. So our goal was to see if this factor contribute to a stronger customer intent to use voice technology in e-commerce. So our research result, less out of the 7 hypotheses tested, 3 are accepted while 4 were rejected. Specifically, we found that playfulness positively influences sustainable use intention for user, indicating that users are more likely to continue using voice assistant if they find the interaction enjoyable. Empathy also positively impact sustainable use, showing that when the voice assistant appears to understand user needs, it strengthens the intent to keep using the technology. Interestingly, assurance and interactivity did not significantly influence sustainable use. This suggests that while user value trustworthiness, it might not be primary factor in determining their continued use of such technology. This finding might indicate the Indonesian customer, particularly younger user, prioritize features that offer a sense of novelty or enjoyment over straightforward reliability. So the next is key findings and insight. Our findings offer several insights into how voice assistant could be optimized for e-commerce. The positive impact of playfulness and empathy suggests that users drawn to features that simulate social interaction. This aligns with the study in user experience that emphasizes the importance of human-like interaction in fostering user engagement. For e-commerce platform, incorporating voice assistants that display empathy and adaptability can enhance customer satisfaction and retention. However, the lack of significant impact from use assurance and interactivity on sustaining use is noteworthy. Users might trust the assistant to perform basic functions, but do not necessarily rely on it for continued engagement. This highlights an opportunity for e-commerce providers to rethink how they design voice interaction, perhaps by adding more dynamic or personalized response to create a sense of novelty, especially as fast technology evolves. So the next is comparison and the recommendation, which suggests that e-commerce platform in Indonesia invest in changing the social-emotional components of their voice assistant by incorporating aspects that make the assistant feel empathetic and responsive. Platform can engage user at a more personal level, making voice search a more integral part of the shopping experience. Additionally, it will be beneficial to integrate more advanced natural language processing features to better meet customer expectations for personalization and engagement. For instance, by understanding user preference and incorporating interactive prompts as voice assistant called proactively suggest products or as follow-up question. This will create a more conversational shopping experience and could encourage users to use voice comment more frequently for shopping-related activity. So the last is our conclusion. Our study highlights the potential for voice assistant to influence customer behavior in e-commerce, particularly in emerging markets like Indonesia. The positive influence of playfulness and empathy suggests that voice assistant can drive customer engagement if they are designed to meet both functional and emotional needs. However, our findings also reveal gaps in the current technology ability to fully engage users, specifically in the areas of assurance and interactivity. As voice technology continues to evolve, we anticipate the future improvements in this area could enhance the technology role in e-commerce. The research aims to investigate the role of voice assistant in influencing e-commerce customer purchasing behavior. Results indicate the factors such as playfulness, assurance, empathy, interactivity, and sustainable use intention contribute to this influence. However, this relationship between some of these constructs, particularly those involving interactivity, were not significant. This study is limited by small sample size. The majority of studies from Jakarta and the low public awareness of voice assistant technology. So thank you very much for your time and invitation. I hope this presentation has provided useful insight into how voice assistant impact customer behavior in e-commerce, especially within Indonesia. I will now like to open the floor for any question or thought you may have. Please feel free to ask anything related to our study methodology and finding. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.